criticisms to promote the book or to improve even the book. This was great. He was saying he said it was not possible sometimes to talk after people like Adwo. I've had the same difficulty always where he is, and would like to appreciate Manas for bringing Adwo here. Anybody who is launching a book and he has not invited Adwo into a panel, your book has not been criticized. Because he's the guy who would always say his spade is a spade. You like it or you don't like it, it's up to you. So I would like always that wherever there is a launching and a dog is mentioned, I come. As a young man, what you did with this book is a very big contribution to the people of South Sudan. I think it was a book who said you are not writing for the Anyuaks, you are writing for the people. Or even the so-called heavy liberators, people who liberated this country do not know certain things here that you have mentioned. Among them, I will start on the social aspect. This book, and it makes me, I would want even to quarrel with the university. Because Professor Cole, I don't know whether Intelisa or Professor Jeshamar, because otherwise promotion of books and launching of books is a very big academic issue. And especially in the university, who would expect a book to be launched in a small hall like this? And all the students are all here. They don't care whether there is a book written or not. The spirit of education in this institution is not correct. Otherwise, anybody launching it, and especially young men like this, they should have all have been here. Even when I came, I was thinking that I might miss getting a chair. I think students should be encouraged to encourage writers, because among them there are so many writers, but they are always afraid. I appreciate your bravery. It's not an easy thing to write a book. Things that discourage are more than things that encourages you. So what you have written is so important. It adds to the history of the South, which do not exist, and nobody wants to write it. Because you are not people unless you have a history. You cannot liberate yourselves, and that's why teaching history in our liberation struggle was important. We should know what your grandfathers did. So, and this brings me to some issues you brought up. Very few people knows that after Torit is not the beginning of the liberation movement. These were just disgruntled soldiers who didn't want to go to the north. There was a bit of nationalism there. They fought, dispersed. Those who were caught were either shot or deported to Port Sudan. But the real liberation movement started in Upper Nile. Most people do not know this. You have talked of 4 poles. They were not 4, they were 6. Led by an Anyuak, who was Paul somebody, I have them here, Paul Ngori. The first liberation movement, South Sudan liberation movement, started in 1957. It started by 6 Poles, who happened all to be individuals from all the tribes of Upper Nile. There was Paul Ngori of Anyuak, who was their leader, and then Paul Adum, who was in Sholo, and then Paul Rod in Nuer, and then Paul Owell, and there are other 2 Pauls. I had them, but I'm looking for the other 2 Pauls. Most of them are, I think the other 2 Pauls are from Nuer also. These are the real when we fight over the Jeja Mara, the Jeja Swati, our liberators, the real liberators are here. We don't talk about them. So the first liberation movement started in Okobo here in the New York land. The hospitality, Galvobia Bitara New York, and what you could call patience. The liberation movements did not start in East Africa. It started in Ethiopia. Until in the end, because of tribalism and other things, it had to shift to Uganda because of politicians who went to Uganda. But the real liberators were the soldiers who started the movement were from, and they were all based in the York land. York is one of the tribes that is enduring the most, how would you describe it? What the Bari call here land grabbing. The first land grabbing in the south started in Akobo, or started with the Anuak lands. What he said is truth. The Anuak used to extend up to the Nile, and they were pushed. When I was in Exit 6 with William Nyon, the Nuers, when they are talking at times, I used to hear what they are saying. I found out there was no Nuer among all the Nuers. Most of them are Anuaks, or Dinkas, or other tribes that have migrated. The only people like Stephen Dwal is an Anuak. People like Molana Jamata, John Luke. We talk about originalities at times, and you get the Nuer are proud that we come from all the tribes of South Sudan. But the most affected are the Anuak. And I didn't know that Pinyudu, those of Bill Farm has an Anuak name. That was changed by those who want to own whatever they put their foot on. Even Itang, up to Gambela, up to Buma. Because if you go along the Sobat and then you go this way, it is all Anuak up to Bongo. And they go up to Dima, up to the Lemi Triangle is another branch going. I think they go up to Juma. They border with the. It's a big landmass. But this tribe has been subjected to so many. He was talking of Anuak having gone up to them, then later on they were pushed back. I think the war of 1912, the way I got it, it is in my book. It was, you had a very tough king one day who wanted even to go back to Lengno. And then they even reached up to from Zaraf. Actually, the British fought with the Anuak to protect the Nuer. That war of 1912 was not a problem between the British and the Anuak. It was because the British wanted to protect the Nuer. The same problem Tangunde and Galda with the Dinka of Tarbor. It was the Dinka of Tarbor being protected by the British. So at certain stages there was, because the Anuak were the first to acquire guns. And most people didn't know that after 1912, and then when the British, when the First World War started, because of what they have seen about Anuak, there was something created called Anuak Scouts. It was a big force. That was the force that protected Gambela and the rest of the places from the Italian invasion. They were protecting Ethiopians as well as supporting the boundaries of the south. So the issue with the Anuak lands are a potential problem that are going to be a regional problem one time. If we have real leaders in South Sudan, people who knows our borders. I never knew Nazrad or Nazmudel Kulium. I thought they were Ethiopian. Nazdim Kulu Ethiopian areas. So we have a big problem here. Something bigger than Abiy. I've seen he was talking about Anyuak not being in the leadership. I saw this spirit in the book here. What he was talking about is in the book. We have written about it. Anyuak Galbo Makabir. Otherwise, even in Nyanya 1. By the way, when I went to Israel, the people who were training those of Arawinkubul, we got them that are still alive. And most of them were asking us about the tower. I think most of the Anyuak do not know who is the tower. The Akwan. Akwan was the best Nyanya 1 officer who fought Lagos in terms of bravery, in terms of knowledge, and that's how he died among the few southern leaders who goes to the front line and fight like a foot soldier. I think he died as a foot soldier. He was not fighting as a commander. He would have been about 1 kilometer or about 2 kilometers away from the. But he went in until he got killed. So when you are talking of heroes of Anyuak, and he touched one of a very sensitive thing, which I was not even happy about it. We talk about Atali. Atali did a very big contribution to the movement. And the way he died are issues that will not die. And Mokwei was right when he said the mutiny cannot be done by one person. You cannot make a mutiny alone. Mutiny in the army is either 2 and above. But he was shot alone. And those who were believed to be with him for Fidel Castro one time, his book, The Time Will Absolve Me. Time will absolve. History will absolve some of our people, which are not mentioned, Hassa, and we have now new heroes we never knew when we were fighting. So, this book, there are very few things that need to be corrected, and they have already mentioned them. I would add my voice to those who are saying that South Sudan, the untold stories, I would make it untold contributions of the Anyuak. I think it's just the same like what the untold contributions of the Anyuak people to the liberation movement. Even this flag is not, it is a universal fiction of liberation. Wherever I think the Americans started this in Second World War when some soldiers with the Japanese. This is where this picture started and became for everybody. When you are raising a flag, you need the liberator to raise the flag. So soldiers are the ones that raise. So the Anyuaks were soldiers, and they fought for the raising of this flag. It's good. And man, somebody here, because I know why you did not put the Anyuaks here. This is what I feel personally. There's one Anyuak that has written about Anyuak. I could not finish 3 books, 3 pages. Because he was talking of pharaonic origin of Anyuak, and tracing the Anyuak history to the pharaohs of Egypt, and how they built the pyramids. And most of the book had nothing to do. We have talked of near and distant relatives. He talked about near and distant. Well, the near relatives are the Anyuaks, between the Anyuaks. And distant relatives are the Dinkas and the Shuluks and the Nuer. So you've captured that. That actually protects you from being a chauvinist or somebody who's just writing about it. So you do not need to run away from your tribe. Say the truth about it. Put it here. My last point is to you. You know, we are they are more critical than being practical. They don't start anything, but when somebody started, then they must have something against it. Do not let yourself be discouraged. Do not let yourself be made to believe that you don't know English. This is what they do always. Because somebody picking a book will always is looking for his spellings, but the most important is the story itself. I had a professor, this Ural guy, at English, yeah, when we were students, coming from Egypt, we found him here in Samani Hall. There was some the people were talking about literature, some kind of a literature workshop, or what was it, the conference, I don't know. He was claiming that Shakespeare does not know English. When in the end I found that I was told he said it even in England, that Shakespeare didn't know English, and he's the most known. A Dinka going to England to tell an Englishman, he might have been right. And actually he had proved it several times that he was better. There were certain spellings which were this ancient English, but this will not remove the fact that Shakespeare remains the top writer of the day up to now. So don't listen to criticisms. Listen to criticisms like what your brothers are saying here to help you improve this. And start another book. Because we are challenging all the 64 tribes. Should they come up with this? Huh? Everybody come up with this. And then we take them to seasoned writers like they would come out with the real history of the people of South Sudan. Assalamu alaikum.
Let the protocol be observed. I would like to recognize the presence of Professor Dr. Adolf Nyeba and General Honorable David Okwai. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Julo Susan Quote. I'm supposed to represent Honorable Otho Okoti because he was supposed to be here, as is one of the friends of Manas. And because of the time, I would be actually summarizing a little points that I've learned from the book. And before that, I would like to congratulate our brother, Manas. Congratulations. I want a lot of us to be like Manas. What Manas did is an excellent job. I was a bit concerned when I saw all the professors are male sitting here. They're all, Rujal. I was expecting a Mara who would who will be here as a professor as well. I don't know if there are many women who are professors, but I was really concerned seeing the 4 individuals sitting in front. Our brother Manas, the untold stories of the liberation, is an excellent job for a young man like him to write about. You know, I always feel concerned when I hear from some South Sudanese saying some individuals fought more than others. Even myself, I would say I fought. Because during the struggle, we were in the bush with those of my father, my late father, General Kodbo Oba, and the antelope was bombing us. Yes. So myself, I fought. including my late mom. So today, some individuals take the credits for themselves, and they would be like, we fought more than other side of South Sudanese. Everybody contributed. And I want us to contribute academically without picking weapons and go to the bush to fight the fellows who think they have done more than the others. You know, the liberation, these untold stories will make us, the young generation, learn from the past, and we would get experience to tackle the oppressions and the suppressions caused. Until now, what our fathers went to the bush to fight about is still happening. And nobody is raising concern about it, because we thought we were fighting the Arabs. But now, the same thing that the Arabs were doing is happening here within ourselves. We cannot mention it, but we all know. What are we going to do as young people? How are we going to fight it? Shall we go back to the bush as our fathers did? Or we try another method to fight this? Another thing that we will learn from what Manas put or wrote about is actually the contribution of the untold heroes that we have forgotten. You see, Dr. Adwok, who is here, I heard from my late dad about him when we were in Puchala. He's a living untold story here. If you guys are looking for the dead stories, Adwok here is a living story of what has happened. As we can see, he might have been forgotten while he's still alive. How about those who died? How much have they been forgotten? So it is us today to remember them when they're still alive. It is us to talk on their behalf. Because when they all die, nobody is going to remember them. And I would encourage our fathers also to give us opportunities to follow them. You know, when you don't show us what you guys are doing, we will not learn. I know when Manasi was writing this book, he did not do it by himself. He had to go to those of Honorable David Okwere, Dr. Adwok, and the rest who have not mentioned here. How about if they are dead? How are we going to ask them? So I would like to request our fathers to give us their little time to tell us what has happened. Let them also show us what they are doing, whether in the government, in the community, so that tomorrow when they go, we'll be able to represent them. So I know I might have gone out of the topic, but I'm really grateful that Manasseh called me today to represent Ottawa. Thank you so much, youth. Let's pick our tools and follow Manasseh. Thank you.
My command will not take time much. First of all, I recognize the President or Professor Adwok Nyaba, Dr. Abraham Kolnyua, General David Okwere, and Dr. Yai Garang, and all the protocol of the Honorable Ashala, and all those who are attending today for launching of the book South Sudan Untold Stories. I really want to put a 3-word for this gentleman. Manas James is very talented, brave, and has a courage. For you to reach such a book, because history of South Sudan has not been put in archive, has not been put in the one book. Most of the books, they are contribution of individual, like book of Professor Adwok Nyaba and others people. But for us to come in one book, we need to such a contribution. I know people, they contribute a lot to this celebration, as most of the panelists here did it. I personally, I went to Anyuaglan and I went to headquarters of the Kingdom Mutala. And it is a privilege. That time I've been invited by the former commissioner and is currently a deputy chief administrator, John Obola. I went to that land. South Sudan, they did not come together in a social contract. What brought South Sudan together, it is a common enemy. Since that colonial of the Turkish, British, until our brothers in the northern part. So South Sudan, they have been living as a tribes in different areas. They did not know themselves, but the common enemy brought them together. You find annual they can fought the enemy differently, but other than neighbors do not contribute until the enemy reach to them. Through these old histories, we come together. We know ourselves since 1947 and beyond, come to 1955 in Tori, come to 1983 in Bor, until now. So for us to add to this book for a second edition, I will not put much on the names. The name is okay for me. South Sudan Untold Stories. There are many stories, not Anuak alone. You left 63 out of Anuak. And it is a platform for you, Manas, to put the rest of 63. There remain and Anuak be 64. In terms of social, Anuak people, they are obedient people. In terms of the governance, when you come to the governance, you get Anuak, they respect law. In terms of economic, they are hard workers, they contribute to economic seriously. And this is where our current government need to look to the areas who have been peaceful to start the development for it. Because you get Anuak, as has been mentioned here, they are hard workers. I went after Utala, been there for 1 month, and been eating maize, frogs, and milk, and fish from the river. And they are very good people for observing the environments, by the way. And these things, if you go for Anuak land, you don't get them. I'm from Bor, and I don't want to talk to others areas. Anuak, when you get them, they are reaching to the river fishing. They are well organized. They don't get just to just fish any smaller. It's well organized. And if you get such a community, they contribute a lot. Leave alone what has been put in this book. I will not go much because of the time, but I will ask to Manas, the second edition, you need to reach out as a journalist to others, tribes, others, eminent person in different groups. It will help you to build this book to be put in archive of South Sudan, Museum of South Sudan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
الزواج والأداة التغاليد والزراعة والصيد. بس نشيل من هنا نشيل من هنا ونقارن. كويس. أنا ببدأ بالزراعة. الزراعة مع الصيد سوا. فأنواع ناس بتاع الزراعة زي ما ذكروها بيعيشوا ميلاد كبير. ناس الفاتوا هناك العباد اللي كانوا هنا حسن هم بيروحوا زي الترتر ميل البهشو يعني أيوة ما في مجال قاعد يجيله إلا حسدي يعني ما بيجي يعني لأنه الأمن مامي ده يا خلى الأنوار يبغوا يعني يأكلوا يغازى ويشهد بالنسبة للصيد طبعا أنواع عندهم نظام كان صيد السمك في البحر ولا في الغابة ما بطلعوا ساكت إلا بإذن كان في شيخ في حتة ده في بلد اللي هم قاعدين فوق ده ياكين لأنه في نظام في قوانين خاصة في الصيف الموية بيكون بسيط وفي باقي محلات الموية بيكون في ركبة صيد كمان بأنواع زي المحل الموية بيكون في ركبة ده طبعا يا يكون بكوكب يا في حاجة تاني اسمه توي عاملينه زي باسكت كده فاتح من فوق وتحت بعدين انت بتحطه في المويه كده كان بيبقى في السمك وبعمل حركه جوا تاخد يدك كان ده بيبقى ابو سنون ده ابو كاس ياخد يدك كان بيبقى ابو تنبير نوع بنفض حوا ده برضه بعد يدك وممكن تمسك دبيب فوق ذاته فوق خطوره شويه فمحل بتاع كوكاب ده طبعا بعد مرات يمكن السمكة يعمل حركة كده في المياه بعيد وطبعا يمكن يقع في كرة أخوه برضه كمان بعذروا ناس إنه الناس يكونوا في الحذر لما يمشوا في البحر عشان ما تعوروا بعض زي بتاع كوكاب ده كمان كانت تشاركوا كمان في السمكة ده طعم في راسه ده طعم في ذنبه عندنا واحد اسمه شوي زمان ولا أنا ما أعرف ليه بدو بيصحوا فحل المشكلة ده قال الزول البطن السمكة في راسه سمكة حقه الزول البطن في الذنب ده السمكة ما حقه لأنه كان يبقى مسكته في ذنبه بمشي وخاصة البربوق طوالي كان عمل حركة زي ده بمشي لكن كان يبقى مسكته بالخياشيم ما بمشي زول بطن سمكة في راسه بمعنى إنت سيد الذنب ده إذا بيجول كوكاب بتاع البلد في سيد السماء كمان كان بحر دير يملا شهر 7 شهر 8 ما في شبكات كمان في الناحية ده يمكن يكونوا بسيطين وما الناس كلنا بمشوا بالمراكب عندنا أراض ماء وبيت مهم الكوكاب ده بربطه في نهايته كده الخيط واخر الخيط هناك يكون حبل ما خيط السمكه اخر هناك يحطوا فوقه زي طرود لما السمكه يسوي في المويه حركه في المويه كده انت بطعمه كان سمكه كبير انت ما تقدر تجيبه انت برمي حاجه ده في راسه عشان يمشي بعدين الطرود ده بيكون كافي السمكة لما يمشي ويشاكل في الموية بفتر بعد شوية يتبقى بارد محله في ميل القرار وتشيله برا وتجره وتقتله تحطه في المركب ده بالنسبة للسيد بتاعت الأزمان كان بيبقى كمان سيد بتاعت السيد برضه ناس بمشي بالنظام بكلموا كيم يا شيخ وناس بمشي لأنه بعد مرات الوسود بمشوا مع الصيد سوا فبعد مرات كان في وسود هنا ده في نص الصيد يقولوا إنه خمر ما تعرفوا يمكن أسد بعدين يزعل كمان يكون مشكلة فلما الناس يمشوا كمان كان لقوا أسد باكل في الصيد ما يعرفوا لأنه ده كمان بيجيب مشكلة يا تكونوا رجال تعرفوا قلوبكم لأنه أول زول البطن الأسد بالحرب ده أسد بعرف كان يندس وين لما النطفة لما يجي نازل ينزل في راسه ولما ياخد خشمه يديره في قلبه هنا ده خلاص تشيلوا بيته تراب مرهون. بالنسبة طبعا للنمر هو إلى يحبشه ما بحبش إن شاء الله كان لقيته هو بمشي. فأظن كده الصيد الأسماك والصيد بتاع الصيد. نمشي للزراعة. هم بزرعوا طبعا مسافات كبير وزرع ده بأشكال وأنواع لأنه صغير ده عندنا زرع شامي زي يعني إحنا في أكوابا ما قاعدين نزرع زرع شامي بناكل بالزرع عندنا أبيض وأحمر ومهم أشكال وأنواع. لكن أهلنا في الناصر بزرعوا الزرع وناس فشلك الشريف وناس فشلك كمان نزرع الشريف. فمهم الزراعة ده طبعا بعملوا بنفير زي ما بيقولوا أيمان يعني ده مشاركة. هم بعملوا بنفير يعني يعملوا مراكز يعملوا أكل يوروا للناس الحيلة يمشوا في الزراعة ده يمشوا كان دايرين يعملوا كرجو ولا دايرين يزرعوا بعملوا بنفير. برضو كمان لما نيجي وقت الحصاد برضو بنفير. ده كده زراعة. بالنسبة للمأكولات طبعا الأكل بتاع أنواع كثيرة ما في حاجة تاني. السينة ككذا كان سمك بيسموه كذا كان لحم برضو كذا أنواع. في سمك ممكن يسلقوا وفي بحرقوا جمر وفي بنشفوا في الشمس وفي البقوطه في راس النار. ده ممكن بتاع خريف لأنه بحر بيكون مليان وما في ملاحات ناس برجعوا له. عندنا بايب عندنا ضيم يعني نجي لنيوم أو شرط نجي لنيوم ده يمكن يجي ناس الكبار يجي يختاروا بيت يعملوا شكل الخطوبة. طبعا تسمع كلام الأهل ما في لا إن شاء الله كان عندك حبيبي هناك لا